I'm not an intimidating guy, nor do I look intimidating.
Me neither.
Nor do I ever have physical or verbal conflicts.
That's correct.
I
Me
always
too.
think to myself that these people don't know what could happen to them.
Now that's a twisted way of looking at it. You hear them stories about people taking care of someone that did them dirty? How maybe sometimes there's insurance involved and a husband or a wife will have the other one offed by putting out a hit on them, you know, having them murdered or, you know, put in a car accident, cutting their brake lines. There's a bunch of terrible stuff that you hear in these movies and these TV shows and stories. But I've never been like, how could you rationalize doing that to someone? I think I have a story that will give you an idea how someone can do this. So this was going to take you to a pretty dark place in my own past. But when I was, I'll say quite a few years back, my wife and her kids had a pretty rough history with my wife's ex, okay? The children's father. He got out of prison after about 11 years and he tried to inject himself into their life. And we knew he was bad news. We knew he was still into drugs. We knew he had violent tendencies, and the court did not seem to want to listen to us. And he was granted visitation anyway. And while nothing bad happened, it could have. And we knew that. And I remember feeling so out of control and angry about this. We knew he was on drugs, and I thought to myself, if we just called the cops one night that we knew he was partying, he would go to prison again, and we would be done with it. And I never could bring myself to do it. I never could. I felt like if something would happen, like if there would be a shootout or something like that, I couldn't forgive myself. And I never did do it. And it turns out later on that he actually overdosed and killed himself. So life took care of him for me, but that was nothing that I had did. But can you imagine? I was actually, for the first time in my life, is the weirdest feeling. I felt relief when he passed away, and it's a strange emotion, and that I've come to terms with. I asked for forgiveness many times from God, because I'm spiritual, but because it felt like such a selfish emotion. But the point is that I'm really, really, really glad that I didn't feel any responsibility for doing something that would have killed him, or incarcerated him again, even, because I did not feel like it was my place to bring him to justice. We had no proof he was doing any of that, but it turned out in the long run that it did. So now I find myself saying, when people get mad enough, they could do some crazy stuff. If I thought about calling the cops on him to get him sent to prison or killed, if it would have came down to a gunfight, then I can see totally why people would enlist the help of less than reputable agencies and people to do their dirty work for them, to get people taken care of, so to speak. Today is a story about someone that gets someone taken care of through the dark web, and it's by Wansee Entertainment. Make sure to head on over to his channel and subscribe, guys. Hit the notification bell, and if you like reaction videos like this and these crazy freaking stories, make sure to subscribe to my channel as well. Let's get into the animation. I've committed the unforgivable mistake. Narrated by Nightmare
someone
Falls.
who goes on the deep and dark web constantly.
Okay?
It's not what people think, where it's evil and overpopulated with crazy people.
Right.
That's only a small percentage of the dark web.
Correct.
Years ago, my girlfriend broke up with me, and I put her personal information on a forum. And soon after that, she disappeared.
Dude, that's low. That is low. On the internet, that's one of those crimes of ethics, right? I mean, it's illegal too, but you don't advertise that you dox people. That's like advertising that you're a pedo in prison. You know what I mean? People that dox people are not good people.
It's been a while since that happened, and I've ran into people that have disrespected me since. I'm not an intimidating guy, nor do I look intimidating.
Me neither.
Nor do I ever have physical or verbal conflicts.
That's correct, me too.
I always think to myself that these people don't know what could happen to them.
Now that's a twisted way of looking at it. But But you see the mentality here, like, you know that you could do some terrible, terrible stuff. You know, my wife, for instance, had so much information on this guy that she could have just put out on the internet for someone to harvest and just ruin his life. Man, it's such a crazy world out there, and there's people capable of doing serious damage.
I work at a fast food restaurant, and at the time of this story, my manager was really on my case about everything.
Uh-oh.
I would be late, mess up orders, have an attitude with customers, and some other stuff I could name, but it's so much. I understood that I was messing up, but the tone that this guy would talk to me embarrassed me in front of my coworkers, and sometimes in front of customers.
Wow. Now you see, that I wouldn't tolerate. I'm very passive. I don't have confrontations with people, but I'm also very direct. And this has taken years to develop some tact behind, but please believe that if someone makes me feel bad in front of other people or handles anything with me very unprofessionally, I will straighten them out in a heartbeat. Boy, you don't talk to me like that. You understand? You look me in the eye and you can understand, we can continue to have this conversation. If not, something's going to change. Either you or me are going to walk away from here. I'm not going to tolerate it. I won't. Not for any amount of money, for sure.
One day, though, that was the last straw. So one day I walked into work 5 minutes before I was due to clock in, and my manager out loud said that the window liquor is finally on time in front of customers and my coworkers.
You see, to hell with that, bro.
Everyone laughed at me. During my whole shift that night, he would direct smart comments toward me, while still yelling at me for everything that I did wrong. I made up my mind. I was going to find that forum and give his information.
You see, I'm the kind of guy that would just leave. I wouldn't tolerate with it. I told him, like, you know what, bro? You're going to start treating me with respect. And if he didn't listen, I would just quit. I would find another job, you know? But in this case, like, he's been pushing his buttons for a long time. And this is the way people really get angry, especially when they don't feel like they have control over the situation. If they're too intimidated to speak, this is a really backhanded and cowardly thing to do, what he's about to do, but I'm thinking that it's gonna go pretty bad for the boss guy.
On my walk home, I was going back and forth with myself about whether to do it or not. By the time I made it home, I made up my mind. I didn't shower nor did I change clothes. I went straight to my laptop and I searched. I possibly clicked maybe 100 links, because on the dark web there are links that will take you down any rabbit hole.
Yep.
A link named pork chop piqued my interest. When I clicked it, I was directed to an about page. It only said 6 words. We find it, we chop it. And another link that said, here's an example of what we do.
Oh.
I clicked it, of course. As soon as I clicked on it, the picture went to the point of view from an old school camera, with the date and time in the corner of the screen. The person behind the camera approached the man and followed him. A few minutes go by, and the man noticed what was happening. He turned around and approached the camera while yelling and screaming at the person for following him. Then all of a sudden, you see 5 huge guys dressed in black wearing a pig mask run from behind the man.
Oh,
and
dang.
drag him into the dark. The person holding the camera turns the camera to his or her face and leaves it there for about 5 to 10 minutes. That person also wore a pig mask, but all you could hear was the man screaming and sounds that I don't want to describe in a...
Oh my god. So the pig mask thing is super creepy especially when it's related to stuff like this, because you see a lot of deep and dark web stories about these terrible things happening with people that wear pig masks, naturally for anonymity and also the intimidation factor. What was the movie The Purge, where people wore all these kind of masks and they were super, super intimidating when these people would come out and you knew they meant you harm?
Background. The camera was then turned back around and the sight that I saw was disturbing. It was something that no one would ever want to see. Some people say that they wouldn't wish it on their worst enemy, but I did.
Wow.
After the video was over, there were links. One said pork and the other said chop. I clicked on the pork and it prompted me to put in a code. I didn't have one, so I backed out. So I clicked on chop. There was information that needed to be filled out, like name, height, description, and place. I
Wow.
filled out all the info for my manager. In the place, it was my job. I submitted the form. At the end of the screen, it said, "See you soon."
Dang.
4 days later, while at work, my manager approached me and decided to apologize for the way he treated me.
Oh, now he's gonna start feeling guilty and there's nothing he could do about it. Like, don't get me wrong, I don't condone any of this. For a little while though, you felt like he's gonna get what he deserves, you know? And not to that level, but he does need a healthy dose of karma. Nothing like that, but he does very much need an ass whipping. I don't know about that though.
And offered to give me more hours and said that he will work with me more often because he sees potential in me. A few hours later, it was close to the end of the night. My manager helped me with the trash and took it out for me. As I were putting chairs on top of the table getting ready to mop, I looked outside and saw my manager looking over at something, but he looked worried. I moved to get a better look and I saw what he was looking at. He
Pig
was
masks.
surrounded by 6 people in a pig mask with weapons in their hands.
Oh my god.
I ran outside as they swarmed him, except for one person. He had a camera. I forgot all about these guys, and then I put his information on the website. I ran outside as they approached him. He looked at me for help, but I ran back inside and called the police. It took them 10 minutes to get there. When I looked back outside, what I saw was the most disgusting thing I've ever seen. I wish I could get the image out of my head. Between the time of me initially seeing them, calling the cops, and running back outside, these guys were gone, but my manager was still there. I went to his funeral the next week.
Dang.
The next day I received an anonymous email that had the whole video. They were watching him his whole time.
Wow.
He was on shift. I don't know how they got my email. I never provided any of my information. To this day, I still feel sick because my manager was starting to be nice to me that day. I can't go back on the dark web.
Man, even if you wouldn't have felt sick from that though. Gosh. Like, I have an overwhelming sense of relief that I made the decision that I did not to make any phone calls about my wife's ex. I'm really glad I didn't, because man, it's some crazy urges at the time, but you see, I'm not angry anymore. Back then I was angry, and it was the same thing with him. As soon as his boss started lighting up, he wasn't angry anymore, and his things changed. And sometimes when you get really, really mad about something or really, really anxious, you just have to have some patience, because things have a way of working themselves out. They usually do. Sometimes, I mean, some people use things to kind of keep their mind off of stuff until things blow over, like 2020 and all the tragedy that's happened here. Sometimes you just gotta be patient and let things happen, because they'll get better, you know? They always get better. I hope that if things are going rough for you, things get better for you. They will. Just give it time. I hope you have some patience and let things run its course, and things will start to improve. Make no mistake, if you have some things going on in your life, you should take steps to make sure that you get through this as easy, as painless, and as fast as possible. There's some things that won't be under your control, but you gotta know that if you hang on long enough, things will get better. I hope they do anyway. Love you guys. Thanks so much for watching. Make sure to check out Wansee Entertainment. Great story. His link's going to be right there, as well as a couple other videos that I reacted to from Wansee. Thanks so much for watching, guys. As always, this is Zueljin signing off, and we'll see you next time.